Mr. Kimani,
Yes.
tell us about your feed production.
Yeah.
I can see a little bit of hay here. There's some that has been mixed. You can tell us more.
Yeah.
And right behind there, there's some, is it reeds? No, napier grass that is being brought.
Yeah.
So tell us more about feed production and how you feed cows at different stages.
Apart from what we talked about the human resource, another key factor that determines production is the feeds.
All right.
When it comes to the issue of feeds, one, we need to ask ourselves, we're in the dairy farming, yes. Dairy farming entails what? One, entails production. Yeah. For these animals to do the production, they must have done a reproduction somewhere. And whatever have been reproduced, that is the calves, they must grow. Because they are our future animals. Is what is going to enhance the growth of the unit, as I told you about the issue of the breeding to increase the size. So we have those three factors, three main factors. Those three main factors, we call them metabolic products.
Okay.
When I talk metabolic products, I'm not talking about something very complex. It's what you feed your animals with is what you're going to get in terms of production, reproduction, and the growth.
All right.
So that's one thing that you need to be very serious about when it comes to feed production. And I urge farmers to factor more with the forage production. Unfortunately, most of our farmers major more in the concentrate production. You get farmers complaining about the quality of the dairy meal, the quality of the minerals and the stuff. But for me, I look at it like forage carries the highest percentage of the feeds.
Okay.
Which we talk of it being around 70%.
Oh.
And that's why we call the dairy meals supplements. To supplement what? To supplement this forage.
Okay.
So as a farmer, you must invest a lot in forage production.
Okay.
Producing quality forage. And there's a sequence of systems that we usually factor in as farmers. And the question number one is, are my animals getting enough quantity?
Okay.
That is the first question.
Okay.
The second question, what is the quality of that quantity? Yeah.
So quality and quantity.
Yeah.
Okay.
Because you can feed these animals with anything, they'll be full. But what is the quality of that?
Yeah. Sasa zifungulia nyasi ziende zikagraze kwenye zimeenda.
Yeah. Umezifungia like this one is also grazing unit. Yeah. Whatever you'll give them,
that is what they will take.
Yeah. So that's the second question the farmer needs to ask themselves. Number three is the consistency. What is the consistency of this quality and this quantity? Because we can agree, and I usually tell farmers, we don't really feed a cow. We feed the rumen.
Okay.
Yeah. The cow, I take it as like a conveyor to take the feed to the rumen. That's where the whole digestion takes place. In the rumen, you have bacteria that are there. Yeah. These bacteria are the one that enhances maybe. In fact, in the rumen, we have a lot of issues that happen in the rumen: the feed mixing, the fermentation, and the stuff. So that's why we usually tell the farmers in the rumen, we have bacteria. If they get used to digest something, if you happen to change, they must also change.
They must adapt to that.
So that's why we tell farmers they must have consistency.
Okay.
Yeah? And consistency will come if you are storing your feeds. We advise farmers to source the feeds, store, then feed. 80% of your ration should be coming from the stores. Like the way you can see we have the hay here.
Yes.
We have the silage. Those are the things we have been able to store. So for us, we can say fine. For the quantity, yes, it's there. For the quality during our production, we have factored it in and we have consistency. Yeah. So you'll get most of the farmers, what they do, they source and feed. Yeah. You source and feed. That way you'll be having challenges because you'll not be having consistency. But what we cultivate more in dairy is consistency. Consistency mostly in forage production. Because as I told you, what is major in feeds is the forage. It's 70%. So the rest, the minerals, the dairy meal, those are just supplements.
Okay.
And you get most of the farmers, as I told you, they concentrate more on the concentrates and the minerals. What about the quality of their forage? Remember, if you feed a cow, the first thing it does, it's body maintenance. Yeah. The second now goes to production. The third one is now reproduction.
Okay.
That is the usage of feeds in the animal body. So in such a case, you'll get somebody has poor quality forage, but it has quality, concentrates, and the minerals. Basically, an animal, when somebody is maybe going for the concentrate and the minerals, you want maybe to improve the production. Yeah. But this case now it will be a different setup, because whatever is lacking in these concentrates, when you feed the minerals will go now to maintain the food, which will be very expensive for you to do body maintenance with the concentrates. So let's work on the quality of our forage, so as if we feed on our concentrate, they can now go to production.
Quick question, Mr. Kimani. I can see quite a lot. I've seen hay, but this seems to be a mixture of quite a number of feeds. Do you mind telling us what this is comprised of?
This one, there's napier and there's hay.
Napier and hay.
Napier and hay. Those are the major. But sometimes you have bracharia, but for now we don't have bracharia, but we usually have even bracharia as part of our feeding. Then we have silage. You'll see silage in drums. As we go along, I'll show you the silage. So we mix all these feeds. We add also the concentrates, the mineral and the likes. We make what we call a TMR. That's the total meat ration. Yeah?
Tell us, I was just about to ask about those rations and how you do them, like for the hay, the napier grass, you said silage.
Yeah, you have silage, you have concentrates, and there's another stuff.
So what are the ratios?
No, we have different ratios, which I cannot authoritatively mention, because you have other factors that determine those ratios.
Okay.
As I told you, there is the issue of weight, the production levels. That's why we have grouped animals. Yeah. So I cannot say authoritatively that you feed an animal 10 kilos of hay, this amount, unless maybe I talk of it in a blanket form. So what happens? Like when it comes to the breeding and the production, the animals in production, we have grouped them. There are those that we feed maybe 15 kilos of silage, maybe like 10 kilos of napier, maybe like 3 kilos of hay. Sometimes we have sweet potato vines. We usually maybe incorporate it, but we don't really count it as part of our ration because of consistency. We don't have enough that we can feed throughout the season. But when we get it, we have bracharia. We feed maybe like 4 or 5 kilos. So we incorporate that plus our concentrate. Concentrate, we usually feed them based on production. And for us, we work it out. We have our own formula. We say we do the total production, we divide by 3. So if an animal is doing 10 liters, we feed it around 3 kilos. So we go dividing like that. Total production, we divide by 3. Plus the minerals, we have them in adlib, and also we have the mineral blocks. As we go around, I'll be showing you the blocks that we have in the farm.
Okay. Maybe just to ask generally, because you previously told us the different categories or the different groups of cows and how you categorize them. Do you mind walking us through the kind of feed, maybe for a calf for the first 3 months? I'm assuming that's a slow milk. As you maybe put a little bit of hay or a little bit of foliage for it to just try and uma here and there, bite here and there. For the next stage, like from 4 months to 12 months, what would be the rations? Then from there, let's say for all those stages that you mentioned, kindly walk us through how the feeds look like.
So I think when it comes to production, to animals that are in production, as I've told you, whatever components we have silage, we have hay, we have napier. Let me talk about those 3 because those are the things we have consistency.
The main ones,
Yeah, and as well I've told you, based on production and based on other factors, mostly our animal we feed between 15 to 25 kilos of silage per day.
All of them combined or?
No, so if you have clustered them into different groups. So there are some that we feed, that's why I'm giving it in terms of a bracket. So there are those that will give 20, there are those that will give 25. There are those will give 15. So we have 3 categories of milkers. Those are maybe heading to dry and withdraw production of maybe less than 10-15 kilos. We feed them like 15 kilos. Those that are in the bracket of around 20-something liters, we feed them around 20 something liters of 20 kgs of silage. Those are above that, we feed them on 25 kgs of silage. When it comes to napier really we don't have a lot of control, depends with its availability. But usually make sure at least for those that we are feeding on 15 kilos of silage, we are feeding them around 8 to 10 kgs of napier. And maybe hay, we feed them like 3 kgs per day. So we go graduating like that. Those that are doing 20, they'll get like maybe 12 to 15 kilos of napier. And those that are doing above that, they get like 16 kgs and above. When it comes to concentrate, I've told you, we divide. A total production in a barn, we divide by 3. Then that's how we do our feeding. Minerals, they are adlib, but we have put the mineral blocks. In case an animal maybe want to lick the mineral blocks, they are also provided there. Another thing that we need to talk about now about the forage is the issue of the quality. Quality, as I told you, there is the issue of quality and consistency. And me, I'm more major. I don't care about quantity, but quality and consistency is another key thing. And what we need to factor in and what we usually need to know is that the stage of harvest of any product determines its quality. So whatever we are feeding, whether it's that silage, whether it's that napier, whether it's that hay, the stage of harvest determines the quality of the product. So what are large farmers is one thing. When you're doing your harvesting, you need to know the right stage of harvest. If it means it's napier, what is the stage of harvest?
Well, can I ask, asking for a friend, a farmer friend?
Yeah.
What's the best stage to harvest napier
at? Napier, we always recommend like 2 feet, no, 2 meters.
2 meters.
Yeah. Okay. 2 meters is ideal because that's the time the nutritional level is at its peak or at an equilibrium point. Okay. So if you cut past that, one, the quality will have an issue. That quality will affect the issue of the digestion and the stuff. So we need to factor in those major things, stage of harvest.
All right.
Number two, when you're baby sourcing things like hay, you need to know the quality of your hay. You have different grasses that make hay. Yeah. You can get hay from the post-harvest things like the moya. You can get it from things like barley. Yeah. Then also you can get it from the pure grasses like the roth grass. You can also get it from maybe other wild grasses. So you need to factor in what was the stage of harvesting. Stage of harvest determines what you call the leaf stem ratios. Some farmers are just buying hay. Yeah, they're just buying hay, but if you look at the leaf stem ratio, it's not proportional. You get the stems are more than the leaves. Yeah, and these ones they are going to affect your production and stuff. Okay. So it's always advisable to make sure at any given time, whatever product maybe you are buying or you are growing, are you cutting it at the right stage? All right. The same case applies even to things like silage. Do you apply the principles of silage making? Yeah. Because the silage has its principles for you to get quality.
Tell us more.
Yeah, and as indicated, the first stage of the first principle of silage making is the stage of harvest. Like in maize, we say maybe the duff stage. Yeah, when even the stem has sugars, the maize is at milking stage. Yeah. So the other thing, that's the first principle stage of harvest. The second principle is how to go chopping. Yeah, like sometimes we're talking about the farmers are telling them about the use of shaft cutters. They're not supposed to be used in the dairy farming. When it comes to silage making, the other thing is the issue of fermentations. That's another principle which will be attributed by compacting. How do you compact your silage? Yeah, we have different types of silage. You have the top silage, you have the pit silage, you have the tube silage. Which mode of compacting are you supposed to use to reduce the amount of air? Because remember, silage is supposed to ferment anaerobically. Anaerobically means is to make sure you do proper compacting to reduce the amount of air. Yeah. So how do you do your compacting? Because if you don't do the right compacting, by the end of the day you'll end up with manure. Farmers have complained about I made my silage. Today it was maybe manure and the stuff. Maybe you didn't follow the principles, and especially the principle of compacting. Yeah.
Do you mind shedding a little bit more light on that? Yeah. What's the best way to compact?
No, we have different modes of compacting. Like when you're doing things like tube silage, that one you use a human resource to go to compact. Even when you're doing these drums, they're also the kind lightweight. Okay, kind of. So you need somebody that compact, properly compacting. Yeah. When you're doing tube silage. We also have the pit silage. Those who dig the pits, maybe put concrete. You can have different modes depending with your capacity. Some will roll drums full of water. Yeah, they roll. Some will get other modes. Some can use even vehicles. We have the top silage. That one you don't do a pit. You just clear, then you just put your feet and then compact. Like for us here, we do top silage. We don't do pits, and we compact using this tractor. The other thing is now the incubation period, yeah, because you need to know the incubation period of how long will I incubate my silage for it to be ready for use. Yeah, we have maybe maize will go maybe for a number of days, like 21 days. 21. We have napier will go for maybe 30 to 40 days. Okay. Yeah. We have different. We have also made things like sorghum. We go for maybe 30 days. Although these days we have inoculants that we are using. Yeah? Maybe I don't know if other farmers are using, but for us we are using inoculants. Where we use the inoculants while incubating the silage, which will not take all those days. Within few days it's ready for use. Yeah. So there is the issue of adding additives, things like molasses. Yeah, some people use molasses, which is okay to enhance the bacterial feed on the sugars, and the process of fermentation will maybe a bit faster. Yeah, and also palatability. Yeah, and also maybe the energy levels. Maybe silage will increase the energy level. Remember, it's a sugar-based or whatever. So the energy level will be better. So the quality of silage energy levels will be better. Because basically, what happens with feed and any feed and feed animals is there are those requirements that animal needs. Energies, yeah, proteins, vitamins. Yeah, minerals. Yeah, we have all those that requires an animal, and energy plays a major role. Energy is like 70%. Yeah, and proteins will follow in certain percentages, vitamins in certain percentages. So if you have your feeds with high energy levels, you are better placed. Your feeds with quality proteins, you are better placed.
Okay. Yeah. Let me ask a question for myself and for an aspiring farmer, because I know for sure you most likely don't know this. I've heard you mention about inoculants. Yeah. What are those? Curious.
No, these are what inoculants is. They're like live bacteria, kind of. So they enhance the process of. It's a bit complex to discuss to the farmers or explain to the farmers. But what happens is, you see, fermentation is a process enhanced by bacteria, and you have two types of bacteria. You have the harmful bacteria and the good bacteria.
Okay.
So what happens? The good bacteria will come and inhibit multiplication of the bad bacteria. So what will happen in such a case? These inoculants. You see, we are putting things like molasses to enhance the bacteria will feed on the sugars, and now to enhance the process of fermentation. So these inoculants are like bacteria. You're introducing bacteria directly. So that is the beauty part of using the inoculants. So then even the process will take shorter days. So like maybe you're talking of 21 days. This one will take very few days.
Wow.
Okay. So that I'm telling you about the issues of like the silage making, the feeding of the silage also is another principle. Remember, we have talked about stage of harvest. We have talked about chopping, compacting, incubation period, and also there's another principle of feeding. How do you feed your silage? And I usually tell farmers, we always discourage feeding on silage alone. You need to incorporate something else, like the napier or maybe hay or another product, because anything that have undergone a fermentation process is always acidic. So you'll get maybe the silage will have a pH of 3.5.
Okay.
Which is acidic. But something like the pH of the rumen is maybe around 5 point something. So if you feed on silage alone, the animal suffers from what we call lactic acidosis. The right pH of the rumen to enhance, because rumen, we usually say rumen is everything in an animal.
Okay.
Is the main thing that determines all the other activities in the food. Because if the fermentation is right, in the rumen, that's where maybe what we call the volatile fatty acids are produced, the vitamins and the likes, for them to go absorption in other levels. So the state of the rumen determines everything. So if the rumen suffers from what we call lactic acidosis, that one will affect them. You see animals having diarrheas. Now there's a bloating kind of, but it's a different kind of bloating. So we need the rumen to have the right pH, because the state of the rumen will determine all the other activities in the food. So we need to have that acidity. Also add the issue of use of the toxin binders while feeding, because you'll get some point the silage maybe was not well compacted on the edges, so you'll get some fermented beets, some are molding. Those molds, maybe some farmers will not throw them away. So what they'll do, they feed the animals with those molded part of the silage. So we need to have those aflatoxins. And the aflatoxins are serious business when it comes to dairy farming. They are really affecting a lot of farmers because it's not easy to note, unlike in the monogastrics, like in human and dogs and the likes, where they affect you immediately. With rumen, they'll affect slowly because they pass through different chambers. But with monogastric, they'll affect them, you'll see the effect almost immediately. Like there we had feed poisoning and the stuff.
Oh, cows faint. I can imagine. I'm picturing a cow fainting.
So that being the case, so for an animal it can take a bit longer because of the chambers. So use of the microtoxin binders is equally important.
There's like a myth that used to go around now that we're talking about rumen. A cow has 4 stomachs. Is that true or false?
No, it's true. No, it has 4 chambers. That's why the ruminants. That's why we call them ruminants. That's why I've talked of monogastrics and the ruminants. Monogastric, they only have 1 stomach. For a cow, it has 4 chambers. It has the rumen, reticulum, omasum, and the abomasum. There are 4. The feed goes to different stages. Every chamber has its own purpose. Like when it comes to the rumen, I told before, that's where the mixing of the feeds will take place. The fermentation, the part of digestions, production of things like volatile fatty acids, vitamins, vitamin like vitamin B, vitamin K, some of the amino acids. They're just produced there, then they may be absorbed in different chambers. Then from there, you have the reticulum, the abomasum, you have the abomasum. So an animal is a ruminant with all those 4 chambers.
Wow.
Another thing that will determine the production is the minerals. The minerals plays a major role. Remember, we are milking animals. We are getting a lot of calcium and phosphorus from them and other minerals. So we must supplement our animals with minerals. And minerals plays a big role. Despite it being a supplement, it also plays a big role. Like even the presentation, the color presentation of an animal. You can tell an animal that has taken minerals well from even the coats. So if an animal is fresh and it's black and white, it should be black and white and silky and smooth. So that is one major thing. From there is the milk. We need to cover that. We need to replace the minerals from the milk. From there is the way how the calves are growing. Even breeding. Breeding, remember, is a process that is determined by hormones. These hormones rely to some extent with minerals. So we always tell farmers, let's make sure we give our animals the right quantity and the right quality of minerals. Because some farmers will maybe buy minerals that are meant maybe to be used by animal for a week, and they want it to go for like 3 weeks. So by the end of the day, you have fed the animal with the minerals, but you have not reached a point, a threshold where this animal is going now to maybe reciprocate by increasing production or coming on heat. Remember, lack of minerals also causes some metabolic disorders. Just sometimes unasikia watu wanasema ng'ombe yangu ilianguka.
Can you mention like some of the common ones?
The common ones is the hypocalcemia, shortage of calcium in the body. You'll get animals suffering from that. You also get some animals suffering from what you call hypermagnesium tetany. That's due to deficiency of magnesium. Even their growth. And the mineral intake is determined by a lot of things. The kind of feeds you're feeding can determine the mineral levels intake. Maybe the supplier will tell you give 100 grams per cow per day. Yes, you can follow that. Yes, I'm not disputing. But the quality of the feeds, the waters of where you are, like where people with the salty waters, the sulfur levels are high. So you'll get even some of these other small minerals that are important, the likes of selenium, the cobalt, and the maybe selenium. They are being affected by the high levels of the sulfur or the high levels of calcium. So that's why we advocate we give our animals Adilip. You just provide, let them take Adilip. So we always factor in that.
What's Adilip? Asking for a friend and an aspiring farmer.
Adilibitum is where you put the salt maybe in a box, because you have two ways of feeding an animal in milk. It's with minerals. One, you can feed Adilibitum, where you just put the animal, you take at their own pace. There is what you give like a direct injection, you put in the feeds. Some will advise on the putting on the feeds directly, which is still okay. There is also the issue of Adilibitum. But me, I'll advocate more for Adilibitum. So an animal can take at its own at its own pace. And the worst bit with some of the minerals, they are not palatable. So maybe animals might maybe the disadvantage of Adilibitum. Some animals will not take it as supposed because of palatability. So that's why you see some companies are now going for flavors. Some are putting them on mineral, what do you call vanilla flavor, strawberry flavor. Some are putting molasses because of palatability.
What's the cow's favorite flavor?
I think it should be vanilla.
Vanilla.
Just again, I'm not certain. But you see people are doing that because of the palatability. When you're feeding ugly, there's also a problem in intake. But it's for me, I think it's the best because the animal can take depending on its requirement. And the beauty part of the mineral, they get saturated in the body. If the animal feels it's okay, it's okay. And when it fails to get enough, that's when an animal now develops what we call picker disease. Start maybe drinking urine, maybe picking foreigns.
Like it literally does things that will end up in it becoming sick.
Picker
disease.
New term there, picker disease. So because it requires those minerals in the body. So minerals plays a very major role. Another thing that will play a major role in the dairy production is water. Remember, I'll not peg it on that, but it affects the production because we say like 87 to 90% of milk is water. So what is your water intake levels for the animals? Yes, some farmers, the animals are taking 20, 30 liters of water. The right consumption of water for an animal is between 100 to almost 180 to 200 liters per day. But you get some farmers, they are feeding on maybe like 10, 20 liters, 30 liters. That one will also we'll see the results in the production of milk. What we say, make sure your animals are getting clean water. At any given time. Our cow needs water 22 hours in a day.
What's ideally the intake, water intake for cows at different stages? Do cows take water when they're purely on milk? You see, if you're before weaning a baby, ideally moms might not give that baby any other thing. That it will just be EBF, exclusive breastfeeding, full stop. You don't give other things. But do cows take water? Like, what's the consumption rate at different stages?
Consumption of water, one, is determined by the feed intake. What is the type of the feeds? 2, weather. 3, production. And age.
All right.
So we have different results or different points that will determine the water intake. Like maybe an in calf, no, not really an in calf, an in milk calf, we still need water, but you cannot take the same amount with a milking animal. The types of feed also determines the water intake. The feeds with high DM level, that's dry matter contents that are high, like things like hay, to some extent can determine the water intake.
So cows will take more when they are taking drier feeds?
The drier feeds, as compared to the one taking the wet feeds. So we have different reasons. So what we usually say as a principle of feeding water, it's one, you must make sure your animals are getting clean water. Any overnight water, the trough should be cleaned and you put fresh water in the morning. So at any given time, the water should be there. I've told you an animal should be having water for 22 hours out of 24 hours. So anytime it wants to take water, the water is available and it's clean water. So another thing that determines the production of the animals direction of the winds, the amount of sunlight required.
Direction of the winds. I'm curious to hear more.
Yeah,
about
direction
that.
of the wind also determines it. Because in the barn, you see, there was the issue of the people were talking about vaccination against methane and the stuff.
Okay.
The cow produces methane, both in terms of the dung and its breath. So you need direction of the wind that will blow. There's a lot of ammonia in the urine.
Okay.
Things that will blow those wherever to avoid the dampness in the barn. The sunlight also. And then also, despite it being as a grazing unit, it also requires sunlight. So how are the structures? How comfortable are these animals?
The cows.
Because I tell you, a cow, in the 24 hours of a cow is supposed to rest between 14 to 16 hours.
And it is when it is resting that milk production.
It synthesizes milk. So how is that structure? How comfortable is that structure? That's why you see people putting mats, people putting maybe sawdust and all those stuff to make sure the cows are comfortable. That one comes now in the structure setting. So we must factor in all those key things. How is the floor? Is the floor slippery? How are the troughs? So all those key things must be put in place in terms of structure setting.
You mentioned about having enough stock so that you ensure the feeds are there consistently. What would be your advice in terms of the number of months that, with regard to feeds, that farmers ideally need to have beforehand?
At minimum, usually urge a farmer to have feeds for 3 months.
3 months.
At any given time, you must be having feeds for 3 months. Because you can even look at our seasons. That when you're going for the dry periods, maybe 3 months, then you get rain 3 months, then you get another. You see, there is that. But for us, the minimum you should always have is 3 months. So what you need to do your maths, depending on the number of animals that you have. If maybe assume you have like 10 animals, what is the number of bales that these animals consume per day? What is the weight of that bale? Because we assume you're saying you feed your cow at 4 kg of hay per day. Maybe that bale is 12 kilos. So you know one bale is taking for three animals. One bale is for 3 animals. So if you have 10, you know my consumption per day is maybe around 3 bales. So you'll do your 3 bales times 90 days. If it's silage, you know the amount of kgs you are using. So you must be arming yourself with that amount. Especially on silage and hay. Because those are the things we said we can store. Remember we talked about sourcing, storing, and feeding. We are telling what you can be able to store. Maybe concentrate will not tell you to store for 3 months because those are things that you can easily get.
You can easily get.
But some of these things like hay, they are seasonal. Some might get this harvesting is that maybe you are doing harvesting at December. The other harvesting might be done on June. You see, there is also those patterns depending with the regions. Though now you have a lot of hay in the country, a lot of areas of growing hay. So, but you need to project yourself. But by knowing how much do I feed my cows per day and how many animals do I have, but minimum have 3 months feeds.
Okay. Quick questions. For a farmer for you do the production for Napier. Just curious, now that you have like 100 cows, what acreage of Napier do you have? And is there anything else that you farm on your own that goes into the feeds of the cows? Do you farm your own maize? There are farmers who do that. And what's the acreage per plant? Let's say Napier maize that sustains your 100 cows.
No, what we do, we grow our own maize. And our maize is basically for silage making. We have leased few lands around. For silage, you do like almost 40 to 50 acres.
Silage,
For Napier, okay, I can't be able to quantify. Most of them we have just done it in the terraces and the whatever. But you can say you have like maybe 15 acres plus.
15 acres.
But for us, you see, we have a lot of manure, so our Napier grows very fast.
Very fast. So maize is the one that takes a lot of acreage.
Yeah, maize takes a lot of acreage because even in our feeding regime, maize is the main component in terms of feeding.
And you said it has a lot of sugar. Or does
there is a sugar you cannot compare. Although apart from now the super Napier, the new variety that has come, that is maybe trying to compete with silage, but it has not reached that level. Because silage, when it comes to energy levels, they are high. Protein levels, they are high. Because silage, you'll get it maybe doing even 23%. CP, that's good protein percentage. Maybe this super Napier, that is the new variety, is doing around 16%. Energy levels in high, maize is a bit high compared to this one. So, but maize still remains superior, especially when you do the yellow maize.
Where do people get hay in Kenya, and what's the cost of hay?
And the cost of hay, you cannot certainly say the prices, because it depends with the season. You can get this hay going for even 100 shillings per bale, and get it going for 400 shillings per bale.
Okay.
But mostly this is where we have large scale farms. Like Kipia, we are now doing it. Rift Valley, Narok. But locally you'll get maybe somewhere like Akuzi you'll get. But mostly it's those people with large scale. Central Province, very few people are able to grow because of the terrain. Also the management of this thing is under mechanizations.
Okay.
The planting, the cutting, the baling, it's more mechanized. So the terrain in Central Province, with a lot of areas the hay we'll do that. But even like Ukambani, part of Ukambani, they are growing. Yeah, from Avroni, those sides they are growing. The farms is big. Yeah, but on Central Province, around this area, most of the people we outsource.
How long can this feed go for?
Silage, when you do proper compacting and you do proper ensiling, silage can last for even 5 years plus, even more. Yeah.
Okay.
When it's well stored, and the beauty part of it doesn't lose its quality because of a stain. No, because the quality is in the dry matter, it's not in the waters.
Okay.
So it was cut at the right stage, well dilated before being built. Stored in a like for us in open air, so the circulation of air. This thing can stay for a number of years without affecting its quality.
Okay. So once you mix it, forget about aeration, remove all the air, compact it, stop.
Stay for more than 5 years.
Okay. Thank you so much, Mr. Kimani. So you've heard quite a lot about what goes into the feeds for dairy cows. 3 things to always remember. Number 1, the quality of the feeds. Number 2, the quantity of the feeds. Number 3, consistency. Have enough stock, at least 3 months beforehand, just in case, because there are factors that you can never control, whether you don't want to be caught off guard or such like things. And fun fact, I'm holding a stock of Napier grass here. We're told the best height to get the Napier grass is at 2 meters. For those who are fans of NBA basketball in the US, that's practically the height of Shaq O'Neal. If you ever need to estimate, just think of Shaq O'Neal and you'll think of the best Napier grass. Thank you very much. Let's go to the cows.